the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in the binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No mic, no fame, just the sound we crave. Tune and turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just a vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. In shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just a beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls, connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go.
When we speak, our intent is not to find meaning afterwards in a pre-existing string of phonemes, but rather to give an easily transmissible form to a thought that precedes the form and which is its sole raison d'être. Lucien Tesnière. Lucien Tesnière was a highly influential French linguist, widely recognized as the founder of dependency grammar. His major work, Elements de syntaxe structurale, Elements of structural syntax, was published posthumously in 1959 and laid the foundation for this approach to natural language syntax. Tesnière served as a senior lecturer at the University of Strasbourg and later a professor at the University of Montpellier, and he also published works on Slavic languages. Lucien Tesnière was born on May 13, 1893, in Mont-Saint-Aignan, which is now a suburb of Rouen in northwestern France. From an early age, Tesnière demonstrated a strong aptitude for languages. During his schooling, he delved into the intricacies of Latin, Greek, and German, laying a robust foundation for his future linguistic pursuits. As a young man, his thirst for knowledge and languages led him to travel extensively abroad, spending time in England, Germany, and Italy, which undoubtedly broadened his linguistic horizons and exposed him to diverse linguistic structures. His formal higher education commenced with enrollment at the prestigious Sorbonne, the University of Paris, and the University of Leipzig, where he focused his studies on Germanic languages. However, the outbreak of World War I significantly interrupted his academic journey. On August 12, 1914, Tesnière was mobilized for military service and sent to the front lines on October 15. Tragically, his time in active combat was brief, as he became a prisoner of war on February 16, 1915. He was subsequently interned at the Merseburg camp, a facility that housed approximately 4,000 prisoners of various nationalities. This period of captivity, while undoubtedly challenging, unexpectedly provided him with a unique opportunity to further his linguistic studies, as he reportedly dedicated himself to learning Hebrew, Russian, Low Breton, Latvian, and Hungarian during his internment. Upon his release and the end of the war, Tesnière resumed his studies at the Sorbonne. He notably studied under Joseph Vendries and attended lectures by Antoine Millet at the Collège de France. Millet was widely regarded as the most prominent French linguist of his era, and his influence likely played a significant role in shaping Tesnière's linguistic thought. In 1920, Tesnière received an invitation to serve as a lecturer in French at the University of Ljubljana, which is now the capital of Slovenia. It was during his time in Ljubljana that he undertook and successfully completed his doctoral thesis, focusing on the fascinating phenomenon of the disappearance of the dual number in Slovenian. While in Zagreb, he married Jean Roulier, with whom he would go on to have 3 children. His tenure in Ljubljana was productive, not only academically but also in establishing personal connections with prominent Slovene scientists and writers. His correspondence from this period reveals his efforts to promote French culture and literature in Slovenia and to acquire recent Slovene scientific and literary works. In February 1924, Tesnière returned to France, taking up the position of Associate Professor of Slavic Language and Literature at the University of Strasbourg. In this role, he taught Russian and Old Slavic, further cementing his expertise in Slavic linguistics. His academic career continued to advance, leading to his promotion to Professor of Comparative Grammar at the University of Montpellier in 1937, a position he held until his death. After returning to France from Ljubljana in 1924, Lucien Tesnière's academic career continued its ascent. He became an associate professor of Slavic language and literature at the University of Strasbourg, where his teaching focused on Russian and Old Slavic. This period saw the publication of several significant works on Slavic languages, such as Les Formes du Dual and Slovene 1925, his doctoral thesis which explored the historical development and eventual disappearance of the dual number in Slovenian, a testament to his deep engagement with the nuances of Slavic linguistics. He also produced pedagogical works like Petit vocabulaire russe and Table étymologique, Les mots russes classes d'après leur racine. Lucien Tesnière received the Volney Prize in 1926. This award is given by the Institute of France, on the recommendation of the Académie des Inscriptions et Belles Lettres, for a work of comparative philology. In 1937, Tesnière was promoted to Professor of Comparative Grammar at the University of Montpellier, a prestigious appointment that allowed him to further develop his broader linguistic theories. While he continued to publish on Slavic languages, his intellectual focus increasingly shifted towards the development of a universal theory of syntax. This period saw the intensive elaboration of the concepts that would form the core of dependency grammar, a paradigm-shifting approach that contrasted sharply with prevailing models of the time, such as those inspired by Ferdinand de Saussure's structuralism. During World War II, Tesnière put his formidable linguistic skills to practical use, serving as a cryptography officer for the French military intelligence, also known as the XIM Bureau. This demanding role, requiring a meticulous understanding of language patterns and structures, likely further honed his analytical abilities, even if it diverted him temporarily from pure academic research. However, it was his magnum opus, Elements de syntaxe structurale, Elements of structural syntax, that cemented his legacy, though it was not published during his lifetime. Tesnière became very ill in 1947, and his health remained poor until his death on December 6, 1954, at the age of 61. It was through the tireless efforts of his wife, Jean, and the support of his colleagues and friends that this monumental work was finally published posthumously in 1959. A revised and corrected second edition followed in 1965, and the first English translation appeared much later in 2015, making his groundbreaking ideas accessible to a wider international audience. Elements de syntaxe structurale laid out Tesnière's fully developed theory of dependency grammar. In this nearly 700-page work, he analyzed over 5,000 sentences and phrases from more than 60 languages, aiming to demonstrate the universality of his syntactic analysis method. He meticulously detailed concepts like verb centrality, valency, the number of arguments a verb takes, and the distinction between actants arguments and circumstance adjuncts. He rejected the traditional subject-predicate division, arguing that the subject was simply another dependent of the verb. He also introduced stemmas, tree-like diagrams that visually represented the hierarchical dependencies between words in a sentence, and the concept of metataxis to describe structural changes during translation. Despite its posthumous publication, Elements de syntaxe structurale has profoundly influenced linguistics, with many of Tesnière's concepts, especially valency, becoming cornerstones of modern syntactic theory across various linguistic schools. While Lucien Tesnière himself passed away in 1954, his most significant work, Elements de syntaxe structurale, was published posthumously in 1959. Therefore, later work in his case primarily refers to the ongoing impact and reception of this pivotal text, as well as the dissemination and evolution of his ideas by subsequent generations of linguists. The publication of Elements de syntaxe structurale was a watershed moment in linguistic theory. It was initially met with considerable interest in Europe, particularly in France, Germany, and the Slavic countries, where his earlier work was already known. The book's detailed and systematic approach to syntax, grounded in the concept of dependency, offered a compelling alternative to the prevailing phrase structure grammars that often stemmed from a more logical or philosophical tradition. One of Tesnière's most enduring contributions, the concept of valency, quickly gained traction. By likening verbs to atoms that combine with a fixed number of actants arguments and optional circumstance adjuncts, he provided a powerful framework for understanding how verbs structure clauses. This idea, originally borrowed from chemistry, allowed linguists to analyze the combinatorial potential of words, particularly verbs, in a precise and systematic way, moving beyond a simple classification of parts of speech. Valency theory became a central component of various linguistic models, especially in functional and cognitive linguistics, and remains a fundamental concept in lexicography and computational linguistics today. His emphasis on verb centrality, arguing that the verb is the nucleus of the sentence around which all other elements revolve, revolutionized the traditional bipartite division of subject and predicate. Tesnière's proposal that the subject is simply another dependent of the verb profoundly influenced the development of dependency grammar and, perhaps indirectly, contributed to later theories like some within generative grammar that also sought to unify the treatment of subjects and objects as verb arguments. The stemmas, his tree-like diagrams representing dependency relations, were groundbreaking in their visual representation of syntactic structure. Tesnière was one of the first to use such diagrams in syntactic research, and while their exact notation has evolved, the use of hierarchical tree structures to depict syntactic relationships is now ubiquitous in many linguistic theories, including various forms of dependency parsing in computational linguistics. Tesnière's concept of metataxis, which describes structural changes during translation between languages, also found practical application, particularly in the fields of translation studies and contrastive linguistics. His detailed analyses of numerous languages, he was a polyglot proficient in dozens, reinforced the cross-linguistic applicability of his dependency-based approach. Despite his significant contributions, the full impact of Tesnière's work was somewhat delayed in the English-speaking world. While his ideas were discussed and adopted in parts of Europe, it took decades for Elements de syntaxe structurale to be translated into English, with the first complete translation appearing only in 2015. This lag meant that his influence in certain linguistic traditions, particularly the early phases of generative grammar which developed largely independently, was less direct. However, as linguistics has moved towards more diverse theoretical frameworks and embraced computational approaches, Tesnière's insights have gained renewed recognition and appreciation globally. Today, Tesnière is widely acknowledged as the father of dependency grammar, and his work continues to be a fertile ground for research and development in syntax, semantics, and computational linguistics. Conferences, publications, and scholarly discussions regularly revisit and re-evaluate his foundational concepts, demonstrating the enduring relevance and foresight of Lucien Tesnière's linguistic vision. Every word in a sentence is not isolated as it is in the dictionary. The mind perceives connections between a word and its neighbors. The totality of these connections forms the scaffold of the sentence. These connections are not indicated by anything, but it is absolutely crucial that they be perceived by the mind. Without them the sentence would not be intelligible. A sentence of the type Alfred spoke is not composed of just the two elements Alfred and spoke, but rather of three elements, the first being Alfred, the second spoke, and the third the connection that unites them, without which there would be no sentence. To say that a sentence of the type Alfred spoke consists of only two elements is to analyze it in a superficial manner, purely morphologically, while neglecting the essential aspect that is the syntactic link. Lucien Tesnière. Notes. Petito, Jean 1995. Approche morphodynamique de l'iconicite de stemmes. De connections Tesnière's auxiliary images schemes de grammaires cognitives PDF. Connections. 10.1, 1-19. Retrieved July 9, 2020. Tesnière, Lucien 2015. Elements of Structural Syntax. Translated by Timothy Osborne and Sylvain Kahane PDF. John Benjamins. ISBN 978-90-272-6999-7. Retrieved July 9, 2020. Peirce, Charles 1897. The Logic of Relatives. The Monist. 7-2, 161-217. doi 10.5840 Monist 189777231. ISSN 0026-9662. Pierza P. Orkowski, Adam 2018. The Origin of the Valency Metaphor in Linguistics. Linguisticae Investigations. 41-1, 152-159. doi 10.1075 li00017.prz. ISSN 0378-4169. S2 SID 126385283.
Mics on the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in a binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No light, no fame, just the sound we crave. Tune in, turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Hidden in shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just the beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls, connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go. Pure and raw. Pure and raw. touch and feel. Tune in, turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just a vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Pure and raw. She's okay.